Hi, my name is Karyn and I waste milk. I've been trying to quit, but it's just so hard. I have an expired quart of 2% in my fridge right now. Someone please help me not to waste any more milk. Today we are talking about how not to waste milk. Dan and I don't use a lot of milk in the house, but I like to have milk on hand because you need it for recipes, or maybe I want to make sausage gravy and biscuits, or whatever excuse I have for that week. I need to have milk in the house. Usually what happens is whatever meal that I've planned to use the milk for, plans get wrecked, plans get changed, and I don't end up making whatever it is I was going to make. And then the milk sits there in the refrigerator and it gets expired. And then I throw it out. Well, part of what we talk about on Thrifty Thursdays is how to save money. And part of that is not throwing out your money. So we're going to talk about a way that you can save your expired, just expired, or almost expired milk and make something new from it that you can use in your home. That something is farmer's cheese. You can use farmer's cheese just like you would use ricotta cheese. Some people substitute cream cheese with farmer's cheese. And so what I'm going to do is take my almost expired milk. I'm going to make some farmer's cheese out of it, and then I'm going to use that to make a lasagna for tomorrow night. Dan isn't home tonight, so I'm sure he'll be very happy that we have some lasagna for tomorrow night. Making farmer cheese is apparently super easy. You need 2 ingredients. You need milk and you need some white distilled vinegar. So I've got a half a gallon of whole milk. Now you can use 2% milk, but 2% milk I'm reading will be a little bit more crumbly. The texture won't be quite as nice and it won't be quite as rich as if you used whole milk. So I'm using a half a gallon of whole milk today to make this farmer's cheese. Let's get started. So what you're going to need to make farmer's cheese is a stainless, well, preferably stainless steel pot, a heavy one that will not allow the milk to scorch on the bottom. We're going to stir it every now and then to make sure it doesn't scorch. And I'm going to use a thermometer because I've never done this before. And the thermometer should read about 190 degrees when we go to put the vinegar in. What we're going to do is we're going to put the half gallon of milk into our pot, and then we're going to heat it on a medium to medium low heat. And when it starts to froth and get bubbly, we're going to turn the heat off and add our distilled vinegar to it. You don't want to let it get to a boil is what I'm reading. So we're going to start this off. While that's heating up, let's talk about add-ins. You can put different things into this cheese. Since you can use it like cream cheese or ricotta cheese, you can make dips out of it for crackers or chips. You can add chives, you can add dill, there's different things that you can add in. And at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about some different things that you could add in and make those different dips and things in different flavors of this farmer's cheese. Okay, here we are at about 150 and 150 degrees. One thing I want to mention is that you can use pasteurized milk, but you shouldn't use ultra pasteurized milk. Ultra pasteurized milk doesn't form curds very well. So You can use pasteurized, you can use raw milk. If you want a little more tang, you could add just a little bit of buttermilk, but don't use ultra pasteurized. Okay, so this is what 190 degrees looks like, and now that I know that, I may not have to use the thermometer next time. I don't know if you can see. It's not coming on camera very well, but it's frothy. You can kind of see toward the thermometer that it's very frothy, and there's a lot of little, really like super tiny bubbles all over the top. Every now and then I get a teensy little bloop, but it's not boiling. You can kind of see it bloop in there a little bit. So now we're going to take the thermometer out. Take the thermometer out. We're going to cut the heat off. And we're going to add our 1/4 cup of vinegar very slowly. I'm going to give it just a teensy stir to work it around a little bit. And then we're going to let this sit with the heat off for about 15 minutes. Now I do think that it's worth mentioning that a lot of times I don't have a full half gallon of milk or gallon of milk that is about to expire because I've used a little bit of it. So what you can do is you will need about a 1/2 tablespoon of white vinegar per cup of milk. So you could measure it out just a little bit differently according to the cups of milk that you have available. So 1/2 tablespoon white vinegar per cup of milk. Okay, this has been sitting for about 15 minutes. And what you want to do is take a bowl. Probably should have gotten a larger bowl, but we'll see how this works out. A colander inside the bowl, and then you want to have a couple layers of cheesecloth, or I'm using one of these old cotton like flour sack type towels that you can use. That goes inside the colander. What I've read is that the cheesecloth, if you use the cheesecloth, the farmer's cheese tends to get kind of stuck in that weave. So I'm gonna try this. This was a suggestion that I read. Okay, so now you can see that the milk has curdled. You see kind of a lime green liquid in there. That's part of the whey. And we're gonna strain off the whey, and you can use the whey in place of water in like bread and things like that. I'm not sure that I will save this batch of whey. I'm gonna have to look a little more at ways that I can use the whey, but we're gonna go ahead and strain this off now. It's very messy. Okay, so now this is hot, and so what we're going to do is we're going to eventually end up pressing this, but for right now we're going to let it drain off just a little more. Before we press it, because it's too hot to press. I don't really want to scald my hand. Okay, I think this will be fine now to take this colander and transfer it back over here and just let this sit. We're gonna let that sit and drain for a couple of more minutes, and then we're gonna add some salt to it, and we're just making a plain one today, but stay tuned for those. I've got 3 really good recipes for this at the end of the video, so don't forget to stay tuned for that. This is what the whey looks like. Of course, it's an orange bowl, but it's kind of a lime-ish green. I'm going to set that aside for now because I'm not really sure if I'm going to use that this time or not. I'm so excited. Look at my cheese. Now, while this is soft, and before you press out the rest of the liquid whey out of it, this is now the time where you would want to do your add-ins and your salt. And we're going to be putting in, we used 8 cups of milk, or half gallon. We used a 1/4 cup of vinegar. And when you do the curdling part after you add the vinegar, if it looks like it's not really working, like you've got some milk still, just add a little bit more of white vinegar and it'll curdle up. But we've got a 1/2 teaspoon of salt that we're going to use for our cheese. So I'm just going to sprinkle that in. So we're going to work that in. And of course our pressing action, when it's cool enough to press, will also help work that salt in. I think we could go ahead probably and squeeze some of the extra moisture out. If it is too hot, I can just stop. Okay. Now, some people just keep pressing it. Some people will, tie a string around it and hang it up for an hour or so and let it drain. Either way, I'm excited to use it in place of ricotta cheese for my lasagna. Okay, so now you can see our finished cheese. It's crumbly, be perfect for adding into my lasagna. And as this cools, it will get a little bit more set up. I could also press this into a circle and just let it harden up that way. But this is probably not unlike the amount that I might use for a lasagna. So I'm not going to worry about pressing it into a circle and refrigerating it. I'm just going to go ahead and use it. Now let's do a little taste test. I've never tasted farmer's cheese before. Wow. It's slightly tangy, very mild, very, very much like ricotta cheese. I will say that. It'll be a good substitute. I would be excited to try a little bit of buttermilk in it to see how tangy I could get that. Thanks so much for being here today. And I want to leave you with the 3 recipes that I had promised, things that you can add in to farmer's cheese. We'll see you next time.